Hey guys, I decided to do a little midweek bonus video since I was in the middle of this whole mess anyways, which I wasn't planning on doing, but last night, for some reason, it just out of nowhere occurred to me that when I go to Florida next week, I really want to have my granulating watercolors with me. So then I remembered that this palette is still empty and waiting for things, and I had just enough of these little half pans to make 2 rows and then make 1 row of these. So that allows me to take 21 colors. So I worked on finding 21 granulating watercolors, and I already put, this is a bamboo stick, bamboo skewer that I cut down to size, and I like to put them down here because you see like the metal ends, and then there's this little lip right there, and you want to sort of put that stick there, and it holds the pans where they need to be. This way they don't slide down and they're perfectly positioned. I did that, and then I worked on finding the 21 colors, and this is what I came up with. I tried the Sennelier, but Sennelier is not big on granulation. It's more kind of, it's a beautiful watercolor, but it's not a super granulating one. But then I had this ShinHan French Ultramarine, or just Ultramarine, and it kind of granulated, and these were my only 2 ultramarine tubes. I didn't have any other options, so it was between these 2, and I'm going to go with this one. And then these are both PG50, the Sennelier and the Daniel Smith. And the Daniel Smith granulated more, so I'm going to go with that. And the Daniel Smith Buff Titanium also granulated. And then I found these. Oop. I have the Daniel Smith Green Apatite, definitely granulates. Moon Glow, this is Turner, PBK 11. The Daniel Cascade Green, I don't actually have a tube of. It came in that Colors of Inspiration, 12 pan set or something like that I had bought. That was part of it, so I don't have a tube. And then I have these 3 Schmincke colors, which are Manganese Violet, Potter's Pink, Cobalt Violet Hue, and they all granulated. So I'm going to go with those. The 12 Schmincke granulating watercolors that were part of their best of granulating watercolors 12 tube set. So altogether, I believe that adds up to 21 unless I mess something up somewhere, and hopefully not. But, I wouldn't put it past me. I think what I'm going to do is for single pigment colors, I might do the bigger pans, and then for mixes, I'll do the little pans. So I need to figure out which ones I don't need full pans of. Probably this Buff Titanium does not need to be a full pan, right? So, and then I have some of these. It's a little spoiler for my haul that I have scheduled for a couple of weeks from now. Because somebody, last time I was doing one of these, somebody suggested I put them on a magnet. So we're going to try it that way. See, that does keep it nice and steady for a while I'm filling it. And then I'm just going to keep them kind of with their pans, with their tubes, so that I know what goes where, so I can keep it organized. I just wanted to have a little granulating palette. In my little birthday haul that I did open the box just to check the contents from one of the stores, I bought just 2 of these because they were selling them individually, and it turned out perfect because I had 12, and buying these 2 gave me 14, which is exactly what I needed. So that actually worked out perfectly. So we want, what do we say? We're going to do a full pan of the ultramarine. And I think I'm just not going to do Sennelier because it doesn't dry very quickly because it's honey based, and it doesn't travel well because it is honey based. So, and I'm leaving Sunday and today's Tuesday. So I don't know that it would dry in time. So I think I'm just going to forego the Sennelier completely and stick to other brands that will dry better. I'm going to try keeping it all together. Was I really going to do a full pan of Green Apatite Genuine? I hate to I know I'm not wasting it, but I hate to use up this tube. Although in that Colors of Inspiration set, or whatever it was, I don't know. I found it on a good deal on Amazon at one point. There was a little sale on it. I got like a full pan of it. Or not a full pan, a half pan of it. Plus I already had the tube. I think I have enough in other palettes for now, and I still have a little bit left to refill when I do finish it, so I think I'm good because I already have this color in 2 palettes. So we're just going to add it to this granulating palette. Try to scrape off as much as we can. I don't know how good of a job I'm doing. Am I making it worse? I don't know. I might be making it worse. Yeah, I just thought because none of my travel palettes have a whole lot of granulating watercolors right now. And I was thinking of all the different art I want to do while on vacation. And it occurred to me that having granulating watercolors would go really well with that art. Since I am like leaving soon, none of these pans are going to be double filled. Like they're all going to shrink, and that's fine. So this is Cobalt Violet Hue. Oh, you know what? I might need that little tube bringer thing. I don't know if you guys saw my last, or not last, one of my videos where I was saying when you're done with the tubes, even if you go all the way, you think you got as much as you can out of them, there's probably, oh shit, there's probably more. There's probably more like in the tube, so don't throw it out. Just let it, like open it up, let it dry out completely, and then cut it open, and then you'll get more paint. Using the tube bringer for these tiny little pans is so inconvenient. I did it before with that little mini palette video that I posted, where it was that tiny little wooden palette of 12, and I was using the tube bringer for those tiny little holes, and that was quite tricky. Okay, let's keep going. Try not to make too much of a mess. Okay, I think that's enough for this one. I'm gonna keep it for refills. There's definitely more to be gotten out of that little tube. Hopefully this all dries by Sunday, but I think it will. They usually dry pretty quick. Although now it's summer, so it might be a bit of a drier environment. So we'll see. Manganese violet. Yeah, because while on the trip, I'm planning on working on some ideas for more tutorials, and for some of the tutorials that are going to be very like simple and straightforward. A lot of it is going to be like maybe filled in with just blocks of color, and granulating watercolors would look so nice for that. So that's why I really wanted to take them. Like I was just imagining all these paintings I wanted to do, and so many of them seem like they would do really well with the granulating stuff. And I have this huge thing of PBK 11 from Turner that I got on Jerry's Artorama because this watercolor was pretty cheap and it granulates really nice. It's actually very nice. So now I have this color in like, in a lot of my palettes because it is such a big tube and it does add some nice granulation. And I was actually testing out if some of these watercolors mixed with neutral tint would be just as good mixed with the PBK 11, because I was curious if neutral tint did something different than PBK 11. So I could show you guys that. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to get more of this paint in here. Okay, it's gonna be good enough. So if you guys want to see a video on neutral tint versus using some other color like PBK 11, let me know. But the general idea was that the neutral tint did work better to enhance the colors, kind of to sort of allow them to still be their more true self, but the PBK 11 allowed them to become granulating colors. Am I doing the cobalt violet? No, I think I decided not to do the cobalt violet. So I'm going to set that aside. because the cobalt violet was nice, but it's not very granulating, and it was also, and I'm not doing this ultramarine violet. What am I doing? Potter's pink. The one from Schmincke is actually very nice. It's very pigmented and activates easily. So there are downsides and benefits to using PBK11 versus neutral tint, depending on what effect you're looking for. Do I even have enough for this whole pan? Let's see. I don't think so. Oops. Let's use it up, I guess. Oh, it came out again. Yeah, it's really hard doing this for these little. All right, that's the end of that tube, but there's more in there. Believe it or not, there is. I'm not going to worry about that right now. It's actually good I'm doing it on this magnet thing, because now I have this surface that's easy to scrape. I think the granulating watercolors are actually going to look really nice in this purple palette. It feels like it suits them because it kind of pops and it's a fun color, and that's how I think of the granulating watercolors too. Like they're sort of there for fun. And then I had one more I was going to do. I believe it was going to be the cobalt teal blue. Oh my gosh, you know what? The Sennelier Cobalt Teal Blue also had a lot of big binder separation, and this one does too. It must be something about this watercolor itself that does that. And I have all these set up to the side so that I can keep track of it, and then I'll probably rearrange them and make a little swatch card and then come back and show you guys how it came out. But I might need to let them dry before I put them in there, because I put them in there before they were dry. Before like another time that I was making one of these palettes, and I made a huge mess by not allowing them to kind of dry first. I might get back to this one tomorrow, allow it to rest. 12, 13, 14, yeah. So 12 of the Schmincke granulating, and then I have buff titanium and moon glow from Daniel Smith. So that's perfect. Let's do 2 of them. And I can't believe that I had just gotten this package of these 2 little pans, and then I'm like, they came in to good use right away. And I still have a good amount of moon glow left, because I did get like a half pan of moon glow in that set that I had bought. So I ended up with a tube and a half pan. Let's smush it down. And these little half pans don't look very big, but they do actually fit a good amount of paint. So it's pretty good. Yeah, you see how the pigments are so different? Some of them I just had to tap it and it settled in. That was the manganese violet. And then some of these other ones really are like super thick. This buff titanium. There's a whole bunch in this cap. When I was swatching it, I had to kind of try to smush it back down into the tube because it was trying to pop out so much. So I don't like leaving too much of this pigment inside the cap or on the rim, because then it makes it harder to open them later. It's kind of surprising if you think about it that the buff titanium actually granulates. And I'm sure I have other granulating colors, like a bunch of the browns or whatever, but I already have them in like so many palettes. Although, come to think of it, I have this buff titanium in a lot of palettes too. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll take my Sennelier palette. Maybe now that I was going to take my Roman Schmal palette with me, but now that I have this granulating palette separately, I might take my Sennelier Traveling watercolor palette because I haven't really gotten to use it much yet. Because I do have like another set of Sennelier that is full pans. So when I'm home, I use that. And when I go traveling, I've taken Roman Schmal or some other shape. It doesn't close good when it has all this. Let me try to wash it up. That worked. So I haven't taken the Sennelier one yet, but maybe this time now I can. It came out nice. Okay, and now on to these 12. That should be easy peasy. This is one of my less favorite ones. It's the Shire Green. It's like a very bright green, kind of unnatural, so it's not my favorite. I think I got a little bit of titanium in there, but it doesn't really matter. It's fine. And that's good enough. We don't need more of that. I'm actually, for some reason, I'm really excited about this, having like all these colors with me. And usually I don't mix brands. Like I like to keep them all separate in their own palettes. But for a travel palette, I think this will work really great. So I think I can do like a little flower. See if I can make it go faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 and 5. I just need to make sure I don't get it mixed up. Just trying to make it go in the corners to make it less likely to dry up and pop out of the pan. I hate when that happens, but it happens all the time. I think this way too, I'm going to get a lot more use out of a lot of these paints that I have that are otherwise just sitting around in tubes. This way I'm actually going to get to use them. And also on the couch, even though I'm at home, that's when I use my bigger palettes. But on the couch, it's actually more convenient to have smaller palettes on hand. So I might have this when I'm home too, just to supplement whatever I'm doing. This way, if I don't feel like using Schmincke, I will still be able to have the Schmincke colors. Okay, I'll just put these down so that I don't get confused. Yeah, I'm gonna just allow them to dry just a bit and then I'll rearrange them somehow, somehow or other. And when I have these palettes, I do like to put the bigger pans on the bottom so that if any of it gets covered up by the bottom lip, even though with the bamboo stick that doesn't happen that much, but it does make it easier to reach the little pans if they're on the top and not on the bottom. Oop, is that binder separation or what was it? This one's very gooey. Not gooey, but just very soft. So this one doesn't need the palette knife, just a tap will do. Like a conveyor belt here, being efficient. And then my cat is in here. Well, one of my cats. I didn't tell you guys this, but I got a cat. Well, got a cat. I mean, I adopted a cat. She was almost 6. Now she's 6. I adopted her in January. So now I have 2 cats. And this one's like the opposite of my other cat. She is super duper sweet and so adorable. She's a Devon Rex. So she's got super short curly hair or fur. And she's like a cuddler. She just loves to cuddle. And she follows me everywhere. And the only bad thing is the cats don't get along. They kind of hate each other. But he's literally, my other cat is a Siberian, and he's literally 2 to 3 times her size. Like weight-wise, I think he's at least double. And then size-wise, he's like 3 times her size, especially when all his fur comes in the winter. It's just... So even though they don't get along, everybody's still alive. He kind of runs after her sometimes just to chase her around, but he doesn't do anything terrible to her. And sometimes she comes over and like hisses at him even when unprovoked. Like if we're petting him, she gets jealous and comes over and like hisses at him and tries to chase him off because she's very possessive of us. So it's kind of funny. It's like having two little kids again. I mean, I still have my kids, but they are not little anymore. I don't know if any of you guys have been with me on YouTube since I was on here like 14 years ago or something crazy like that. Sometimes my kids, when they were little, used to make it into my videos. I did make all those videos private now, so you can't really see them now, but back when I was doing scrapbooking, I used to have my kids in the videos occasionally when I was doing unboxings. I used to get a lot of scrapbook supplies because I was on a whole bunch of design teams for different companies. So they would send me huge boxes of stuff. I had so many scrapbooking supplies. And I think based on those videos, some people assume that I started in scrapbooking and then I came to art, but really it's the other way around. I've been doing art, well, my whole life, and then I had lessons like with an artist, like private lessons in high school. And then I was doing art all through college, and then I discovered scrapbooking when I had my kids. I didn't even know it existed before. But then I had my kids and I had all these cute photos, and scrapbooking was super popular 15, 20 years ago. So I really got into it. Like I said, I got on a bunch of design teams, got a bunch of stuff. It was a lot of fun. But then I really missed art, so I started getting back more into art. So scrapbooking was really the deviation, not the other way around. Like I said, I'll just let them dry for just a little bit. I'm going to do some stuff, and then I'm going to come back and rearrange them and show you guys what happens. Let me see if I can, I don't know what's going on here, but let me see if I can clean this up a bit. Yeah. I have this palette that was empty, so I'm filling it now, and my other palette that, oh look, it's magnetized. My other palette, it was the Travelers Company one, the big folio one. I actually put my 31 purple fish pans in there because they're the bigger pans, and 15 of them fit in there, which actually ended up being perfect because I had sold a few of them because I had, you know, some doubles, or some of them kind of looked like other ones, or some of them I didn't like. So I sold off a bunch of them, and by the time I sold them, I had 15 left, and they all went in that palette perfectly. So I might take that one with me too on vacation. When I come back from vacation, I'll show you guys what I ended up taking with me and what I ended up using. Stay tuned. I'm going to be back with a final look at how this palette came out with a swatch card, or maybe we'll do the swatch card together. I don't know. I'll rearrange them, and then maybe we'll come back and do the swatch card. Hello, I'm back. It's the next day, and I made a little color swatch chart. I used rough paper, but I don't know that it's very good. It is rough, but it's got this like very uniform texture. It was one of those sample sheets from Jackson's that you can get to try out different types of paper. So I'm using rough paper because it is granulating watercolors, so hopefully that helps. And look at how cute it came out. We made the cutest little palette, right? Look at that. This color and this color really kind of shrank. This one I actually refilled. I added more because it had like very quickly sort of shrinks to nothing. This is the Turner and this is the ShinHan. There is a bit of a difference in quality, I think, but that's okay. And I'm not going to refill this ultramarine because I don't think it granulates as much as some ultramarines. Like French ultramarine granulates more than regular ultramarine, and this is just the regular one. If I get my hands on a tube of really nice granulating ultramarine, I'm going to replace it or, you know, refill it with that one when this one runs out. So, and this one is, I'm just going to leave it. I already refilled it once. It's good enough. So this is the order I settled on. I tried a couple different orders. I had this one going, and then I rearranged them to this one, and then I rearranged them to this one. And then I was like, you know what, it doesn't really matter even. It's good enough. So let's go ahead and swatch it together. And then maybe I'll come back and show you how it comes out. Or, I mean, you kind of already see how it comes out. And then what I'm going to do is I already labeled the back, and there's not enough space here to write down what they are. I want to write down the brand and the color. I don't think I'm going to write down the pigments because most of them are mixes, so it doesn't really matter. I'm using a water brush for swatching because The water brush rinses off much easier than regular water brushes. Regular watercolor brushes take longer to get clean. So this is the, what is it called? Desert Yellow. I can tell you guys as we go what they all are, because I have them, the tubes all arranged over there. So that'll be easier for me to just kind of go down the line and label them on the back when I'm done. And then that will be it. That will be my little granulating palette. And it's already dry enough that I would not be afraid to travel with it. So it should definitely be good enough, you know, in a couple of days. I don't think it will be an issue. This is the Volcano Red from Schmincke. And I thought it was a single pigment color, but actually I don't think it is. I think it's a couple different pigments. But the yellow, I believe, is single pigment, which is kind of cool. Okay, well, I think this paper does allow the granulation to show up a little bit. So I guess that's good. It's better than I thought. And even though these little swatches are so tiny, I do want to try to kind of like, you know, have it be a little bit lighter on the bottom and darker on top, and try to really get a good idea what they look like, because some of them are pretty similar in color. So it might be kind of difficult seeing what they are. This is actually Moonglow from Daniel Smith. I first had it towards the end with the like grays, but then it was purple enough that I decided to move it to like the violet section. Especially since the other Schmincke color, the Tundra Violet, is, if anything, it might even be kind of more gray than the Moonglow. And I did have it in the purple, so I might as well keep the Moonglow in the purples too. It's actually not as granulating as I kind of would wish it was, but it is granulating enough to be in a granulating palette. But I'm really happy with this one. And now that I really love that color, but some of my palettes don't have it in there, some of my travel palettes that are very limited. But now this just means if I'm bringing this one along too, then I can bring along one of those travel palettes that I wouldn't ordinarily want to bring. And it has the buff titanium that some of them are missing. Like, for example, I have that core travel palette. That's the one that's pre-done, the mini one that has the 12 colors, and it's really great. You can get all sorts of mixes. It's a really great color selection, but it doesn't have this teal color or the buff titanium. So, and also it's not very granulating, those core colors, but they do flow really nicely. So I was going to bring my Roman Schmal travel palette because it has a lot of colors, like it has buff titanium, it has this cobalt teal, or just a teal color. But now that I have these colors in this palette, I might just bring the core one, and then I can have the best of both worlds. I can have colors that granulate and colors that flow super well. Oh, what's this one color doing? It's very pushy. It's trying to take over my Moonglow. No, go back to your own corner. Which one is that? That's the Glacier Green. Glacier Green just wants to travel and do its own thing, huh? There. Let's add a little bit more Moonglow. So that it's because it's pretty dark on top, but then it's very light on the bottom right now. And I want to have kind of a medium in the middle there. Yeah, like I was saying, these colors really come to life when you have bigger swatches of them, so you can see them granulating and separating. And in these tiny little squares, it's very hard to see that. So I'm just going to try my best to give them a good representation despite the tiny size I have to work with. Yeah, sometimes when I'm traveling, I really like to use the water brushes even when I have no water in them, because they wash off so easily in the water. So if you have a tiny little water container, it wouldn't be enough for a regular paintbrush. Like, you need a good amount of water to really rinse off paintbrushes. But for a water brush, the tiniest little bit of water, like even a capful of water, is sufficient because they wash off so easily. You just kind of dip them in and they're already clean because it's, I guess, basically plastic. So the paint doesn't really stick to them the same. This is Volcano Brown. But I really love how this palette came out, and now I'm really glad I did it, even though it was a completely spur of the moment, on the whim thing, on a whim. Like, I just came up with this idea out of nowhere, not sure where it even came from. And then I immediately thought of this palette. Like, it was just pure inspiration. And then I just went ahead and did it. And I came up with the idea, thankfully, with enough time to actually implement it and give the paint time to dry. So, like, if I came up with it later, that wouldn't have worked. There, that looks good. Then we have the Galaxy Pink. It's really nice and dark. And you see how I'm just dipping my paintbrush in and the paint just activates immediately. So that's really nice too. I don't want to have to pre-wet or take too long, especially when you're traveling. Like, that's the last thing you want in a travel palette. So it's nice that all these paints don't need a whole lot of encouragement, let's just say, to get going. This is Tundra Pink now. We're getting into the more purplish tones with the Tundra Pink. So hopefully when this palette is finished, all the colors line up nicely and look good in this arrangement, because I'm not redoing this swatch. So at this point, it is what it is. I'm committed. I did use the other palette I have, the folio size. That's a collaboration with the Travelers Company for my 31 purple fish colors. But now I'm thinking I might take them out because I kind of want to have that palette back and available for something else. And right now the 31 purple fish take up the whole space. Like, there's no space for mixing wells, like additional mixing wells, and I have a few of those, so I wanted to kind of add them in as well. So you see, this is the Tundra Violet, and it's even more gray than the Moon Glow. That's why I decided to add the Moon Glow to the purples too and not keep it in the grays. Like, if anything, this one's more gray. Okay, this one is also being pushy and trying to take over my yellow, which ordinarily I wouldn't mind because I like it when colors flow into each other, and, well, watercolors specifically. I like it when they do their own thing and flow and all this stuff, but for a swatch, that's not exactly what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, look, this paper is coming out pretty good for this, actually. I have to break out some of my rough watercolor paper, which I haven't really used much, and start using it with these granulating watercolors. I bet they would look so nice on like really nice hot or rough watercolor paper. I have a pad of Arch's rough watercolor paper. So it's the cheaper version. It's not a whole lot of sheets, and it's a pad. It's not a block. And when I got it, like a few years ago before the pandemic, from Blick, They were like such a reasonable price that I got one of those, and I got like a cold press one. I didn't get hot press because I already had hot press blocks, because I've always liked hot press for stuff for mixed media. So I just got the cold press and the rough just to try it. And but now they've like literally doubled in price. It's so crazy how the prices have gone up. I was saying in another video I was making, I don't think I posted that one yet, but some paintbrushes that I bought like tripled in price on Blick. I mean, it's just because on Blick you can go into your purchase history. So I was able to look up stuff I bought like years and years ago, and just the price difference is insane. Oh, this color really messed it up. This color really went up in that one. We don't want that. Let's clean it up. Let's add a little bit more in. There, that looks good. Yeah, so all these art supplies have gone up in price. I noticed that after the tariffs in USA took effect, for some reason, the Holbein stuff got a lot more expensive too, like the gouache and the watercolors on Amazon. And I'm not sure why, because you know, the tariffs really apply to China more so. So I'm not sure what happened, but when I first got my first Holbein set of 18 colors, it was back when I first decided to try like better quality watercolors. So it was my first professional set. And at that point, I think they were just becoming available on Amazon, and they were like super, super cheap. So I just kind of took a chance on it and bought it because it seemed like a decent quality, and it was so cheap. It was like $20 or something for 18 tubes. And then I really love them. Prices on all the stuff have really gone way up, unfortunately. I think this turned into like a complaint session about prices going up on art supplies. You can still find good deals here and there. On Amazon, sometimes you have like resellers, just all of a sudden you just catch like a crazy good deal. That's how I got my luminance pencils. I have no idea what was going on that day, and there were only like 3 boxes available, and I just happened to be looking for luminance pencils on Amazon at the time. And I got the box of 70 something, which is like $200 or $300 box. I believe it's like around 300 they sell it for $40. So that was crazy. And when I bought it, I was like, I don't know what's going on, how this happened, but I was just crossing my fingers that the box would actually arrive. I was convinced it would either arrive and it would be something completely different, or it would just never arrive at all. But it arrived, and it was the luminance box. So that's how I got those pencils. And then when I got my Sennelier paints for the first time, I found a wooden box with like 2 amazing quality paintbrushes that are more than $20 each. There was Sennelier paper in there, and there was 12 large tubes of Sennelier paint, and the whole thing was $40 on eBay, brand new. So if you like look around, you can find really good deals. When I bought the White Nights paint as a gift for someone, for my mother-in-law actually, at the time they were like, it's like $50 for 36 full pans, which is no longer the price, but that's what I got at the time. And then of course there were like really good deals on stuff that I didn't purchase because I was like, it's a really good deal, but I don't need it. And now I'm like kicking myself and wishing I had gotten it when I had the chance, because I don't even know if I'll ever find that same price. But I did recently, just a day or 2 ago, on eBay, find a really good deal on the museum aquarelle pencils, which I was looking for. So I went ahead and got those, and I'm going to stash those away for a special event like a birthday or Christmas or anniversary or something. So I did buy a set of those. I was tempted to get the bigger set because they had the bigger sets for a good price too, like the 76 color ones, the biggest one. And I was tempted to get that, but I was like, no, I don't really need that many of them. So I just got the 40 color set. And that was a good price for it. So what is this? This is the Manganese Violet from Schmincke. A very aggressive color. Super saturated. It's almost like a dioxazine purple with like how dark it is. But it granulates. So this is the right place for it. Manganese Violet. That's a nice color actually. You know what? Let's skip one so we don't keep having the same issues. And let's go to this ultramarine. So yeah, I'm not super happy with this ultramarine, but the choices I had were limited because it was either this or the Sennelier one, and the Sennelier one looked like it was completely not granulating. I mean, Sennelier is not big on granulation. It's bigger on like being luminous and transparent and gorgeous. And I love those paints, but if you want granulation, that's not exactly the go-to paint for granulation. That's why I was thinking I would take my Sennelier travel palette, because now I have this granulating supplement. So I was kind of debating between that one, and then I thought of the core, and I wasn't sure, but I think I'm going to go with the core. Then I can have, like I said, the really flowy paint with core and the granulating paint here. This is a really lovely color. This is the Green Apatite Genuine from Daniel Smith. It's gorgeous. I love their greens, and all their Primatech colors are very granulating overall. I guess because there are like a lot of natural stones or natural components that, oh, it's really dark. Yeah, I'm trying to really fade out the bottom so I can definitely see the numbers very well. Although I can kind of guess what the numbers are based on their position in here. So, and also I think I am getting a pretty good idea of what the colors look like, even though the swatch squares are so tiny. I can still see a pretty good amount of the color and the granulation. So I don't think I'll need to refer to the back as often as I was thinking I might need to. This color is so gorgeous. It's really, to look at it, you wouldn't think it would be such a great color, but I think it might be my favorite out of this Schmincke set of their best granulating selection of 12. And it's the Desert Green, which is actually a brown color, but it's got green in it. And it's so gorgeous because it's super granulating and separating. Like the green really separates out. This is the PBK 11, and we have the Green Apatite trying to push its way in. Stay in your lane. Let's take it a little bit off the 20. Let's just add more black in here, and then it will cover up the green. And this is a nice black. If you add it to things, it kind of mutes them and makes them granulate, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, so I was saying if you want me to do a video where I compare mixing colors with a granulating black versus a neutral tint, let me know, because I can do that. Because I have this granulating black, and then I have neutral tint in Daniel Smith. Yeah, this Turner tube, like the Turner paints are not the best, but this tube, I actually got the idea from Lindsay Wyrick, the Frugal Crafter. She said if you guys want that granulating PBK 11, just get the Turner one because you get such a huge tube for like $6 or something. Like it's a huge tube of it. And it works just as well as any other PBK 11 because it is such kind of like in general, a light fast color. It's kind of known to be pretty light fast, that you don't need to worry about it being a cheaper paint, that it's not going to be light fast because it will still be light fast. Kind of like this ultramarine from ShinHan. Since ultramarine is known to be very light fast, and they do use the PB29 pigment, and they did rate it as very light fast. The only thing you kind of never know with sort of cheaper paint is whether they use some brighteners and stuff to make their paint kind of brighter and look better, and those are obviously not light fast, and they don't really have to disclose it. They just disclose what pigments they used, but not whether they used brighteners or other additives to make their paint look better than it really is, to kind of, you know, make up for them using less pigment or whatever to save money. Then they use those fillers, and then the fillers themselves are not going to be light fast, even though the pigment that they used and are disclosing is light fast. So that's one thing to kind of think about if you have work that you want to hang up, or you want to make sure it lasts forever, or you're giving as a gift or selling or whatever you're doing, right? If you're using the paint in a sketchbook, it doesn't really matter. I still have Prima watercolors that I bought years ago when I was doing scrapbooking. I still use those for my sketchbook. They're nice. And these ShinHan watercolors I'm also using for my sketchbook. I actually really like them because they came with a set of 36. It was like $30 for like 36 tubes. And then I was able to get, you know, a lot of good use out of them, put them in various palettes. I actually sold a couple palettes I made. So I basically got them for free because I made my money back and then some. Yeah, they're great for that palette because they reactivate really well. They might have honey in them, I'm not sure. But there are a lot of very bright, fun colors that I don't need to do a lot of mixing. So they're great for a sketchbook. Like just fun, bright colors that are ready to go and activate immediately without pre-wetting. So the ShinHan one is actually perfect for my sketchbook. And I put it in that palette it's like a Tim Holtz palette that has the round wells that you're supposed to use for ink. Now they're basically in pretty big wells as a result. So it's very easy for even a big paintbrush to pick up. Just want to add a little bit more. This is kind of a pale sort of color. It's not my favorite, but I think if I had a much bigger section of it, it would look nicer because I can see the potential because it separates. There are like these pretty yellows that start coming out when it has enough space and water to start separating. It's the Shire Green. I am going to bring my art creation sketchbook for regular sketchbooking, but I'm also going to bring a travel watercolor sketchbook with cold pressed paper. So these really get a chance to shine. That's the palette. What do you guys think? I think we did a good job. I really love this palette. I don't know what it is. I'm like super happy with how it came out. Yeah, I think it looks really great. The only thing I wish I had a better ultramarine. But I have a lot of these little empty wells that I can, if I ever get like a better ultramarine tube, I'll go ahead and just replace it, or once I use it up, I'll replace it. So yeah, but I think it looks great. And I love how even though these are such tiny spaces, I can really see what the colors are. I can see the granulation in them as well. It really did work on this paper, even though I didn't think it would. Like I was debating opening the Arches paper and like using that one, but then I was like, I have this piece laying around, I might as well use it. So it worked out. That's it. I don't think I need to come back and show anything else because that's pretty much it. I'm just going to write down the names and that's about it. If you have any questions about any of the paints or pigments or anything like that, let me know. I'm going to write the names down. I'm going to laminate it in packing tape. then it fits in here perfectly. I made it just a tiny smidge smaller so that there's space for the packing tape around the edges. And that's it. It's like this really adorable little purple palette with beautiful granulating colors. So thank you for joining me. I had fun with this. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.